I want you to try and imagine that you're holding your breath underwater.
Okay.
At first, it's just this conscious choice, right? You
Yeah.
feel like you're completely in control of the situation.
Right, yeah.
But then, as the seconds tick by, the pressure just starts to build. Your chest tightens up. Your vision gets a little blurry.
Oh, yeah. Panic sets in.
Exactly. And eventually, you don't even make the decision to exhale anymore. Your body just violently gasps for air.
Yeah.
And it does that regardless of whether you've actually broken the surface of the water yet or not.
Because it just becomes this overwhelming, uncontrollable reflex. I mean, the physical pressure just demands a release.
Right. It doesn't care about the environment you're in.
No, not at all.
And see, we all understand that physical mechanism perfectly, I think. But when it comes to our inner lives, like our minds, our spiritual well-being, we somehow convince ourselves that we can just hold our breath forever.
Yeah, that's so true.
Society essentially tells us to, smile, be polite, just keep a super tight lid on our darkest, heaviest feelings.
Which is funny because that conventional wisdom is actually the exact opposite of how human nature really functions.
Right.
We end up treating our emotional landscape like it's, I don't know, a logistical problem, like something to be solved through just sheer force of will and, well, suppression.
And it is failing us miserably. So to understand why that approach is failing us, we're going to look at a truly remarkable text today.
Yes, we are.
Our source material for this deep dive is a translated satsang discourse. So a traditional spiritual teaching by Guru Sivayogi.
It's a fascinating piece.
It really is. And the title of our exploration today is exactly this: The Secret of Human Character, How to Live Without Losing Your True Nature.
And what we're doing here is looking at this ancient spiritual wisdom that, honestly, it directly challenges modern conventional ideas about emotional control.
Yeah, completely flips it.
It does. And the mission for this deep dive isn't just theoretical. We're unpacking a really highly practical philosophy here.
So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the constant pressure to just, suppress your feelings, or if you're honestly just looking for a meaningful shortcut to understanding yourself better, you're in the right place.
Absolutely.
Because we're going to explore how to navigate modern life with genuine emotional maturity and profound peace. Like, no more holding your breath.
Which is a relief.
Yeah.
But that journey actually requires a pretty fundamental shift in how we view our own construction, right?
How so?
Well, before we can even master our emotions or interpret them correctly, we really have to understand the raw materials we're actually made of.
Oh, right. Let's start right there, actually. Because the discourse centers on this really fascinating core concept. It's called gunam.
Gunam, yeah.
And essentially, that translates to character, or like a fundamental nature.
Right.
And what struck me right away is just how much this ancient idea totally clashes with standard Western psychology.
Oh, completely.
I mean, think about Freud's model. We all learned that in school, right? You have the I, the ego, and the superego.
Yeah, the classic trio.
Right. And the id, which is that base primal instinct,
Yeah.
it's almost universally compared to a wild animal. Like, we constantly use phrases like animalistic urges when a human being acts out of rage or base desires.
Oh, great. And Guru Sivayogi's perspective completely turns that whole psychological framing on its head.
I love this part.
It's great. He argues that calling our worst, most deceitful instincts animalistic is actually, well, it's profoundly unfair to animals.
Okay, but hold on. I want to challenge that just slightly.
Sure.
What about an animal that uses camouflage? Or like a predator that sets a biological trap for its prey? I mean, isn't that technically a form of deceit?
Well, see, it looks like deceit through our human lens. But biologically, it's purely an evolutionary survival mechanism.
Oh, I see.
There's absolutely no malice involved. I mean, a chameleon changing its colors isn't, feeling the sense of vindictive superiority over the insect it eats.
That's a good point.
Animals are just remarkably straightforward. Like, if a hunter misses a shot at a deer, that deer doesn't spend the next 5 years plotting some complex, deceitful revenge scheme to ruin the hunter's reputation.
Right, yeah. The deer just runs away and goes back to eating grass.
Exactly. And the source notes that, sure, while a few creatures might have a reactive memory like elephants, or maybe certain snakes, by and large, the animal kingdom is entirely free of that calculating malice we project onto it.
Wow.
Yeah, that complex emotional manipulation, that deliberate cruelty that is uniquely human.
So basically, saying a cruel person is acting like an animal is giving the human way too much of a pass.
Yes.
And insulting the animal kingdom in the process.
Pretty much, yeah.
And what's wild is this concept of a fundamental nature. It isn't even limited to living things.
Right. the inanimate objects.
Yeah, the source brought up this brilliant observation that inanimate objects have a gunome too. Like take a piece of gold. The fundamental character of gold is its extreme ductility. You can draw it out into this microscopic, incredibly thin wire, and it just doesn't break.
It just yields.
Exactly. It yields and stretches. That is its nature. So looking at the deer, the gold, and our own complex minds, what does Guru SivaYogi really mean by character?
Well, what he means is that human qualities are not these fixed, rigid algorithms that we're just doomed to execute blindly.
Yeah.
They actually have the capacity to evolve.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. The defining difference between the baseline instinct of an animal and the conscious living of a human being is moral choice.
Moral choice. Right.
Because we possess self-awareness, you know? Our character isn't just an automatic survival reflex. It's the sum total of how we consciously choose to apply our inherent qualities to the world around us.
So if our character is built through these conscious choices, then I guess we need to know what we're actually choosing from, right?
Exactly.
Like what is the raw material in our psychological toolbox?
So the tradition outlines a very specific spectrum of materials here. It identifies 8 natural human emotions.
Yeah, the discourse lists them out. And it's quite a comprehensive sweep of the human experience, honestly.
It really covers the bases.
It does. We're talking about laughter or humor, sorrow, ridicule or confusion, fear, desire, anger, and joy.
That's the list.
But, reading that list, my idiot instinct was to categorize them like joy is good, anger is bad.
And see, that instinct to categorize is exactly where we stumble.
Really?
Yeah, a vital piece of this teaching is understanding that none of these 8 emotions are inherently bad.
None of them.
None of them. They are completely neutral. They're biological and spiritual gifts, really, rather than enemies to be defeated.
Okay, so it's like taking a beautifully crafted heavy-duty hammer.
Oh, I like this analogy.
Right. A hammer is a perfect tool if you're trying to frame a house.
Sure.
But if you take that exact same hammer into a hospital and try to use it to perform delicate open-heart surgery,
you're going to cause a disaster.
A total disaster. But the hammer itself isn't evil.
Right.
You're just applying it in the wrong room for the wrong task.
That is a perfect analogy for how Guru SivaYogi views human emotion.
Yeah.
The problem we run into, like the real source of our internal suffering, is not the presence of the emotion itself.
Okay.
It's the context in which we wield it.
And the source material actually provides a highly relatable anecdote to illustrate this.
Oh, the bicycle story.
Yes. So imagine you're walking down the street and you see someone riding a bicycle.
Okay.
Suddenly, the rider loses their balance, wobbles, and takes a really hard, painful fall right onto the concrete.
Which is a completely neutral external stimulus.
Exactly. Now imagine 2 different people witnessing this exact same event. The first person sees the fall, points at the rider, and just bursts into mocking laughter.
Right.
They feel this sudden surge of arrogance and superiority.
Yeah.
But the second person sees the same fall, and they cry out in fear. They feel this immediate wave of empathy, and they rush over to make sure the rider isn't injured.
And the event didn't change at all.
Not one bit.
But the way the internal emotion was applied, well, that reveals the true character, the gunum of the person watching.
The first person took the gift of laughter, which, evolved to help us bond and express joy, and they basically weaponized it.
They used it to mock someone's vulnerability.
Exactly. While the second person took the gift of fear, which is meant to alert us to danger, and used it as a catalyst for compassion and swift action.
So the 8 emotions are always simmering within us. Character is defined entirely by where and how we deploy them.
Thinking about that first person, though, the one laughing at the accident,
Yeah.
it's kind of unsettling because if we're completely honest, most of us have been that person at some point in our lives.
Oh, definitely. We all have.
We've all felt that petty, misplaced reaction bubbling up. Why do we often lose our true nature without realizing it?
Well, we lose our true nature the absolute moment we surrender our conscious choice to our environment.
Surrender our choice.
Right. We allow the external situation to dictate our internal reaction rather than pausing to deliberately choose our response.
We're just on autopilot.
Exactly. You apply the hammer to the surgical table because you just aren't paying attention to what room you just walked into.
We become completely reactive. And because we misuse these emotions so often, society has developed this very blunt, standardized solution to the collateral damage.
Oh, yes.
Society just tells us to shut the whole system down. Don't feel the anger. Don't show the fear, just hide it.
And Guru Sivayogi warns that the societal demand for suppression is a deeply, deeply dangerous trap.
He uses this incredibly vivid analogy for this that totally reframed how I think about my own feelings.
The meal analogy, right.
Yes. He compares our emotions to a beautifully cooked, fresh meal.
Okay.
If you eat that meal right away, it does exactly what it was designed to do. It nourishes your cells, it gives you energy.
It's good for you.
Right. But imagine you take that exact same fresh meal, you seal it in a container, you lock it in a dark, warm cupboard, and you just let it sit there for like 2 weeks.
I mean, the nourishment rots, it ferments and just becomes toxic.
It turns into poison. And that is the biological reality of what we do when we suppress our natural urges.
Wow.
When you feel a genuine, profound need to cry, or you experience a completely justified surge of anger, but you force yourself to swallow it down and lock it in the dark, it does not magically evaporate.
No, it doesn't.
It literally rots inside your body.
And the discourse is remarkably clear on the physiological toll this takes, too.
Yeah, the physical side.
Right. It points out that suppressing these powerful gifts actually manifests as physical ailments.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We're talking about chronic, unexplained headaches. We see this a lot in men who have been socially conditioned to refuse to ever cry, right?
Oh, right. The toxic stoicism.
Exactly. Bottling up decades of sorrow until that physical pressure actually contributes to severe heart issues.
So we pat ourselves on the back for being so stoic and professional, while we're literally poisoning our own nervous systems with spoiled emotions.
That's exactly it. And the toxicity doesn't just stay trapped inside the individual either. It leaks out.
It always does.
This initiates a destructive cycle of displaced emotion.
Oh, the boss and the employee example from the text.
Yes.
This is agonizingly common in modern life. Like, we see this all the time.
It really is the classic scenario of misplaced power dynamics.
Right.
A boss yells at an employee over a minor mistake, just treating them unfairly. The employee feels completely justified anger.
Which is totally natural.
Right. But because they need their paycheck, they cannot express it. They have to suppress that natural reflex.
They lock the meal in the cupboard.
Exactly. They bottle up that rotting meal of anger, carry that toxic, humming energy all the way home, and the moment they walk through their front door,
They scream at their spouse.
or they snap viciously at their children over a spilled glass of water.
The anger didn't vanish. It just mutated and found a safer but completely inappropriate target.
And this happens because the human ego is constantly obsessed with looking outward.
Yeah.
We endlessly analyze and judge the actions of others.
Right.
We ask, why did my boss do that? How could they be so cruel? We expend massive amounts of cognitive energy judging the external world, which we cannot control.
Instead of looking inward.
Exactly. Instead of investigating our own internal state.
We obsess over everyone else's gunum while completely neglecting our own.
We really do.
So how does self-awareness transform our emotions?
Well, in this tradition, self-observation is the absolute foundation of wisdom. The transformation begins the exact second you flip the script.
Flip the script how?
You have to stop asking, why did he do that? And start asking yourself, why am I feeling this heat in my chest right now? Why am I laughing at this inappropriate moment?
Oh, I see. You basically take your hands off their steering wheel and firmly place them back onto your own.
That's a great way to put it. You step out of the chain of blind reactivity. By observing the emotion as it rises, acknowledging it as a neutral biological gift, you gain the space to decide how best to apply it.
You stop being a victim of your own neurological reflexes.
Exactly.
Okay, I understand the theory, but this brings us to a massive practical dilemma.
Okay, let's hear it.
If we agree that we must not suppress our emotions we shouldn't let them rot in the cupboard.
Right.
But we also know that expressing raw, unfiltered rage or sorrow to our fellow humans usually leads to judgment or conflict, or that displaced pain we just talked about.
Yes.
Where are we supposed to put it? Can anger actually become a spiritual tool?
So that question leads to the most profound and honestly radically simple pivot in Guru Sivayogi's teaching.
Okay.
The answer is unequivocally yes. Anger, profound sorrow, deep fear, they can all become powerful vehicles for spiritual growth.
Really? How?
His solution is to take your rawest, most unvarnished emotions and offer them directly to the divine.
Rather than throwing them at another flawed human being.
Because human beings are limited. I mean, even our closest loved ones have thresholds.
That's true.
If you take your deepest, most jagged sorrow and you pour it onto another person, there's always a risk. They might misunderstand your intent.
Or they might just become overwhelmed by the weight of it.
Right. They might even file that vulnerability away and subconsciously use it against you in a future argument.
And if you show them your raw, unfiltered anger, their own nervous system immediately gets defensive.
Of course.
Now you have two angry people and you have a massive fight on your hands. You haven't released the emotion at all. You've just multiplied it.
Exactly. But the divine, however,
Yeah.
you personally conceptualize that higher power, whether it's a deity, the universe, or just the absolute, it is the ultimate infinite container.
Okay.
It is completely non-judgmental. It can absorb your absolute worst, most destructive rage and your most desperate weeping sorrow without ever fracturing or judging you.
That is the definition of spiritual emotional maturity, isn't it?
It really is.
If you're furious about an injustice, you don't swallow the poison and you don't scream at a cashier. You take that fury and you direct it at God.
Yes.
If you're shattered by a tragedy, you don't numb it with distractions. You weep to the universe.
And the source actually provides a fascinating physiological insight regarding this exact practice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when you direct your genuine anger or your deep sorrow toward a divine concept, rather than bottling it up or weaponizing it against a person, your pulse rate actually begins to lower.
Wow. I want to dig into that mechanism. Why does praying or venting to an invisible concept calm the physical body down more than yelling at a person?
Well, it comes down to the psychology of validation and the nervous system's fight or flight response.
Okay.
When you yell at a person, your brain stays in a state of high alert. Your amygdala is still firing because you are constantly anticipating their reaction, their defense, or their counterattack.
Right, because they're going to yell back.
Exactly. You haven't actually completed the emotional cycle. You've just introduced a completely new stressor.
That makes total sense.
But when you offer that same raw, unfiltered emotion to a non-judgmental container, the divine, your nervous system recognizes that you are finally safe.
Because there's no counterattack coming.
Right. You're not going to be attacked for your feelings. The validation is internal and absolute. So the pressure valve opens, the amygdala downregulates, and the emotional cycle finally completes itself.
The suffering physically transforms into peace.
Yes.
That is incredible. And, what I truly appreciate about this discourse is that it doesn't assume you live in a monastery.
No, not at all.
It gets remarkably practical about how to achieve this release in everyday life. The source explicitly says, if you're overwhelmed by feeling and you cannot get to a temple or a sacred space, find a pillar in your own house and hug it.
Or grab a pillow from your bed and weep into it.
Right. It might sound a little silly to our modern ears at first, but it is deeply profound.
It's physical.
It is about the physical, bodily act of release. You must express the emotion fully and purely in the physical world. Dedicate that energy outward to the universe.
Do whatever it takes so that the emotion does not rot inside your body.
And does not become a weapon against someone else.
It completely demystifies the spiritual process, honestly. It brings the pursuit of enlightenment right into your living room on a Tuesday evening.
So, as we synthesize everything we've explored today, the Freudian models, the rotting meals, the emotional hammers, what is the ultimate takeaway for someone listening to this right now?
I think the core message is that true spirituality is not about becoming a robotic, stoic, emotionless being.
It's not.
It is not about sitting on a remote mountain and feeling nothing.
It is not about holding our breath underwater until we pass out.
Exactly. True spirituality is synonymous with emotional maturity. It's having the courage to feel your natural emotions deeply, the self-awareness to understand why you are feeling them without judging the outside world, and the wisdom to offer that raw, potent feeling to something greater than yourself.
It's beautiful.
It's the recognition that your emotions are not your enemies. They are the very fuel required for your evolution.
Well, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on.
Okay.
We spent so much time today talking about artificial intelligence and how machines might one day mimic human thought.
Sure. Yeah.
But considering everything we've learned about Gunham, can a machine ever truly possess character?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. If it doesn't have these raw, biological, messy, emotional gifts, the fear, the sorrow, the joy to wrestle with, to misuse, and to eventually master, it seems impossible. Character isn't just data processing. It's the beautiful, difficult friction of choosing what to do with our humanity.
And that friction is the privilege of being alive. You are the architect of your reactions. The raw materials are neutral. The final design is entirely up to you.
I encourage you to actively observe your own Gunham today.
Highly recommend it.
The next time you feel a sudden surge of anger in traffic, or a wave of fear about the future, or even an unexpected burst of joy, do not shove it into the dark cupboard. Remember that it is a profound gift. When we understand our own nature, every emotion becomes a doorway to wisdom. As Guru Sivayogi teaches, true transformation begins not by changing the world, but by understanding ourselves.